Welcome back, everybody. So I just want to take a quick moment and say thank you so much for everyone who have subscribed to this channel. I am super excited to continue to making good content, great content that I love, and content that I hope you love watching. And I'm very excited for you to come along this journey with me. So thank you so much. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Let's jump in today's video. We are going to be talking about probably my favorite lens that I have in my kit right now, and that is the Canon 50mm f1.8, otherwise known as the Canon Nifty 50. So this lens right here, and yeah, it's a lens, not an ice cream sandwich. But this lens right here is actually the most recommended lens to anyone who's starting out with photography. And honestly, it's a great lens. It's a fantastic lens. And to be honest with you, I've never actually owned one. This is the first one I've actually ever owned. Anytime I needed to use a Nifty 50, I would just borrow it from someone. So this is the first time I actually ever bought one. So I'm really proud of myself for finally buying one. That way this video makes sense because I can recommend you buy it, or maybe not, I don't know, just stick tuned, we'll see. All right, so you may be asking yourself, okay Chris, Canon Nifty 50, why do I need it? What's the point of having this lens in my kit? I mean, is it really that good? I mean, if it's the most recommended lens for beginners, what about it is so great? Well, I'm going to list off a few things that I think is fantastic about this lens. And then maybe a few things that, depending on how you look at it, may be bad or cons or whatever. But let's start with the pros first, all right? So this bad boy is sporting a very nice STM motor. So that means that the autofocus is going to be a lot quicker and it's going to be less noisy. So it's not going to sound like a bunch of tiny elves inside your lens having some machine gun battle when you're trying to pull focus or your focus is trying to be put onto your subject. It's going to be way quieter. The lens that I'm shooting on right now is loud. It's obnoxious. This is actually way quieter. Another pro of this lens right here is it is a fixed focal length at 50mm, which means that as a prime lens, it's going to be a sharper image compared to, let's say, a zoom lens, which is great. So if you are someone who's getting into portraiture, shooting portraits, this is going to be a great lens for you because it's going to give you sharper results. Another big aspect of this is that it is a f1.8 aperture. That's it. You get 1.8 aperture, which is great because that aperture means it's going to be wide open. It's going to let in more light. If you're doing a lot of stuff maybe in low light, you're going out on the town, a bunch of neon signs everywhere, street lights, and it's nighttime, it's probably going to do a really good job with it. Is it a low light beast? No, it's not. There's other lenses out there that are going to do way better in low light, but this right here, it'll get the job done. I think a great thing about this lens is that it is not big at all. It is very light and it's just tiny. Like I said, it's small. So you won't feel guilty by throwing this bad boy in your camera bag and using it as part of your kit. You know, take it with you everywhere. Probably one of my favorite things about this lens is that it has a metal mount. So when you're mounting it to your camera, this part right here is actually metal, which is great. The older Nifty 50 actually had a plastic mount, which if you're someone who's taken this lens on and off your camera a bunch of times, there's a good likely chance that the plastic mount will crack, from wear, right? So I think this was great, a fantastic addition to this lens is having it be a metal mount. So With that all being said, you're getting a lot of good features, a lot of cool things, a lot of helpful things for a very small price point. This comes in brand new at $125. That's how much I paid for it brand new. Now, you can go online, scour the internet, and you can look for a cheaper price, buying it used or like new or what have you. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. You can find it a little bit cheaper. Okay, Chris, so that's what we're getting for $125. What are we not getting for $125? I'm very, very glad that you asked me such an appropriate question for this video. With it being a prime lens, you are stuck with one focal length. So if you are someone who is needing to have a variety of focal lengths because you're doing different shooting styles, then this lens is not going to be helpful at all because you're stuck at the one focal length. Another thing is, if you're using this lens on a crop censored camera, like I do, you're actually not getting a true 50mm. What you're getting is an 85mm. So on a Canon, that is a 1.6 crop, and other crop sensor cameras are going to have a different times ratio. So look up your camera and figure out what that is. This one may be like the biggest con, I guess. It just depends on what you're using it for, but it doesn't have image stabilization. So if you're using it for video work particularly, then having it on, let's say, a tripod or a gimbal will give you better results. Now I'll show some footage here of me just doing some handheld footage around and showing you just how much not having image stabilization you can tell. But if you're using it for photography, which this is where I kind of lean towards recommending it for photographers, not having the image stabilization isn't really that big of a deal unless you just are a super shaky person. You know, you've had 15 cups of coffee and you got all that caffeine jitters and you're just, I would recommend putting it on a tripod. I mean, that's just, you know, just put it on a tripod. It's not that hard. Okay. I guess one of the last things would be, with it being a more budget friendly lens, it isn't going to be weather sealed. So a lot of the Canon L series glass, I primarily shoot on Canon, so that's my experience, they are weather sealed. So they have different O-rings and things like that that help keep the lens sealed against, you know, moisture and things like that. Where does this lens really shine? Well, in my opinion and in my use case, this lens really shines in portraiture and product photography. I really like using this lens for product photography because when I'm trying to isolate a product, it does really well by bokehing out or blurring out the background so we can have that nice focus on what I'm trying to show. All right, so are there other lenses out there that are going to do a better job when it comes to portraitures and, you know, product photography? Yeah, absolutely, they are. But they're going to cost you 2 to 3 times and sometimes even 10 times the amount of the nifty 50. And so what I say is that if you're just starting out, you know, obviously you're not going to, you know, if you don't have a ton of money to invest in camera gear, this is a solid choice. And it'll cover a lot of different things that your kit lens will not be able to do. In conclusion, do I recommend this lens? Yeah, absolutely. I think you totally should buy it, especially if you're starting out with photography, especially if you're going to get into portraitures, you know, wedding photography and stuff like that, you know, senior photos, whatever. This lens is going to do a great job. All right, that's it for me. I hope that was informational. I hope that helped you kind of make a decision on whether or not you're going to buy the Nifty 50. Again, I think you should. It's a great lens. If you like this video, hey, it's YouTube. I'm not going to spell it out for you. You know what to do if you like this video. Okay, come on. I'll see you guys in the next one.